Hello, students. How are you doing? I hope all of you are healthy and happy with your families and friends. Well, today we are going to take up the second part of the chapter, The Portrait of a Lady, and I would start off with a small expression that at youngest we are most pure, at oldest most experienced. But at both, we are the softest at heart. Maybe that's why those ages get along the most. It's somewhere in the middle we lose ourselves. So, as the story progressed, we learned that when the narrator and the grandmother were very close, actually, the narrator was very young and the grandmother was very old. Maybe that is why they got connected to each other. But when the narrator started growing up and situations changed and they became distant from each other emotionally too, that is where something wrong started happening, and now the narrator is very much away emotionally, physically from the grandmother, and whether he could understand her emotions anymore or not, that is the question, because the city life completely changed the dimensions between their relationship. The grandmother became lonely and started spending her time by spinning her wheel, reciting her prayers, and feeding the sparrows. And the narrator was obviously busy with her studies, and the parents were busy with earning money. So, this is how the dynamics were in the family. So, let's get started with the text today. When I decided to go abroad for further studies, I was sure my grandmother would be upset. I would be away for 5 years, and at her age, one could never tell. One could never tell means that if the narrator has to go to a foreign country for studies for 5 long years, you never know that whether grandmother would be alive during those 5 years or not, because she was so old. But my grandmother could. She was not even sentimental. She came to leave me at the railway station but did not talk or show any emotion. Her lips moved in prayer. Her mind was lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary. Silently, she kissed my forehead, and when I left, I cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between us. Well, this paragraph is very important because this paragraph is written from the point of view of the narrator. And as you can see that he has mentioned that the grandmother was not even sentimental and she did not talk or show any emotion to the grandchild, and she was always praying during that entire time when she was in the on the railway station. Now I want to make sure that you must understand that we have to look at the character of the grandmother from an objective point of view, not only from the eyes of the narrator. See, right in the beginning of the chapter, we learned that the grandmother was very old. So, when she shifted to the city and lived there for quite some time, she must have grown older. Now, such an old lady, she went to the railway station to see off the grandchild. It usually doesn't happen. Such old people say goodbyes from home. They never go out and travel. But grandmother went there to the railway station only to say goodbye to the grandson. And what do you think? For whom was she praying a lot? It was definitely the grandson. She wanted that the grandson who is going away to a faraway land should be safe and secure and healthy. So she was praying to God for all that, and later on, when she was done with her prayer, all her blessings were transformed in the form of that kiss on the forehead of the narrator. So, when the narrator says that she was not even sentimental, I must put my expression in front of you that I think the grandmother was indeed very sentimental. Yes, she did not show it off, but she was always thinking about the grandson. But that was not so. After 5 years, I came back home and was met by her at the station. So, again, you can see that even after 5 more years, that is growing older and older, but she still went to the railway station to receive the grandson. That was her willpower and the extreme love that she had for the narrator. So, the grandmother looked the same even after those 5 long years. She did not look a day older. She still had no time for words and while she clasped me in her arms, I could hear her reciting her prayers. So, clasped is hugged, HUGGED. So she hugged him, and at that time also she was praying, and the narrator actually could not understand that the grandmother was throughout praying for his safety and security, and that is how the distance was still there. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with the sparrows, whom she fed longer with frivolous rebukes. Frivolous rebukes are scolding somebody with not such serious manner, scolding someone in a very funny manner. So she was not angry, but she was just having fun. And why she was so happy on that day? Because the grandson came back. The grandson whom she loved a lot. In the evening, a change came over her. She did not pray. She collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum, and started to sing. So, this is very unlike the grandmother. She was somebody who always prayed, but on that day she did not pray. She took an old drum, collected the neighborhood women, and started singing. And that's pretty unlike her. And what else she did? Let's see. For several hours, she thumped the sagging skins of the dilapidated drum. So here we have the dilapidated drum. And what does it mean? It means that sagging is hanging. The skin is like the skin of the drum, and the sagging skin, now you can understand that the skin started hanging. Why? Because the drum was very old and quite broken also. So she took out an old drum, and she took that drum and started beating it, collected the neighborhood women, and started singing the songs of the homecoming of warriors. And why did she do that? Because she was extremely happy that the narrator was back. We had to persuade her to stop, to avoid overstraining. That was the first time since I had known her that she did not pray. Now, for somebody who would always pray every day, if the person did not pray for someone else, then you can imagine that for the grandmother, what was more important. So, yes, the grandson was indeed very, very important for the grandmother. The next morning, she was taken ill, so it was overstraining. That is why she was taken ill. It was a mild fever, and the doctor told us that it would go. But my grandmother thought differently. She told us that her end was near. She said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life she had omitted to pray, she was not going to waste any more time talking to us. We protested. We protested as in we were against that. But she ignored our protests. She lay peacefully in bed praying and telling her beads. Even before we could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, and we knew that she was dead. So the grandmother died very peacefully. There is a word used in the text, pallor, and if you refer to the pallor of someone's face or skin, you mean that it is pale and unhealthy. So a deathly pallor of her skin had been replaced by the faintest flush of color. So when somebody dies, the color of the skin becomes dull and unhealthy and very pale actually, because the blood circulation stops. So she died very peacefully in her bed while praying. We lifted her off the bed and, as is customary, laid her on the ground and covered her with a red shroud. Shroud is basically a cloth which is used for wrapping a dead body. So as the custom demanded, they covered the dead body with a red shroud. After a few hours of mourning, we left her alone to make arrangements for her funeral. In the evening, we went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. So these are all the rituals and ceremonies that are being taken up in the Indian, or preferably in the Hindu community, that the body is covered with a red shroud and is put on the crude stretcher here, as you can see in the picture, And then the cremation ceremony takes place. So that was done with the grandmother too. In the evening, we went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. The sun was setting and had lit her room and veranda with a blaze of golden light. We stopped halfway in the courtyard. All over the veranda and in her room, right up to where she lay dead and stiff, wrapped in the red shroud, thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. There was no chirping. We felt sorry for the birds, and my mother fetched some bread for them. She broke it into little crumbs the way my grandmother used to and threw it to them. So that was very surprising. The family was mourning and the family was making preparation for the cremation of the grandmother, but suddenly they saw that all around her dead body there were thousands of sparrows sitting quietly as if they were mourning the death of the lady who used to feed them, the lady who was so loving towards them. They also came to respond, they also came to mourn over the death of that lady. And the mother of the narrator saw that there were birds there, and she thought that they might have come for the breadcrumbs like usual, and she broke the bread into small crumbs and threw them at the sparrows. So let's see how the sparrows then responded. And they were sitting very quietly. That should be remembered, because if there are so many birds sitting together, how can there be no noise, But on that day, even they knew that something bad has happened, and it is a sad moment, and there was no chirping at all. So the sparrows took no notice of the bread. When we carried my grandmother's corpse off, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweeper swept the breadcrumbs into the dustbin. So, from this particular expression of the sparrows, you can understand that the sparrows, they came to the grandmother every day. Yes, in the beginning for the breadcrumbs, but later, not only the breadcrumbs, but for the love and affection shown by the grandmother. And that is why on that day, when it was not the grandmother who provided them those breadcrumbs, they took no notice of the breadcrumbs. They sat there quietly and flew away quietly after mourning. So, this shows that the sparrows were extremely affectionate to the grandmother. So, this is how the life of the grandmother came to an end. And we came to know that she was very loving and caring towards almost everybody. She was very patient and flexible towards the situations that arose in her life, especially during the last chapter of her life. And she was very compassionate and caring and generous and kind. So these are all the features that you must remember when the chapter comes to a closure. And because it is a pen portrait of the grandmother, we came to know about her life, her physical appearance, her daily life, her daily routine, even in the village or in the city, and her characteristic features. So these are the important parts that you must keep in your mind. And now I will close the chapter with this small poem entitled as A Grandmother Just Like You. I just want to let you know you mean the world to me. Only a heart as dear as yours would give so unselfishly. The many things you have done, all the times that you were there, help me know deep down inside how much you really care. Even though I might not say I appreciate all you do, richly blessed is how I feel having a grandmother just like you. So the narrator, remembering the grandmother, definitely was missing her. And that's how we miss our grandparents when they are not around. And that is when we realize that they loved us more than just anyone. And the pain of separation is something that doesn't just go away so easily. But that's how life is. So every life comes to a closure sooner or later, and the person is missed by the closed ones. So yes, the chapter also comes to a closure, and I hope that you must have understood each and everything about the chapter. So let's get done with it and let's close it now. Thank you.